This episode of the CUInsight Experience podcast is sponsored by Trellance Cooperative Holdings Incorporated. Trellance is the parent company behind some of the most trusted credit union tech providers, such as Rise Analytics, ProBridge, and Optiri. By providing tech to credit unions and investing in new solutions, Trellance aims to create growth opportunities for the entire industry and to empower credit unions to embrace innovative new technology. Learn more at trellance.com.
Welcome back to the CUInsight Experience. I'm Randy Smith, one of the co-founders of CUInsight.com.
And I'm Jilly Nowacki, founder and CEO of Zealyst.
This season, we've been exploring one big idea, and what it means to lead with purpose.
And what's been fun is discovering that purpose shows up in a whole lot of different ways. Sometimes it's about vision, sometimes it's resilience, and sometimes it's the courage to make hard decisions.
Today, though, we're going to talk about something that purpose can't really exist without.
Collaboration.
We hear that word all the time, but real collaboration is harder than simply getting people in the same room.
Exactly. It's about building trust, inviting different perspectives, and creating something together that's actually better than what any one person could have created alone.
Purpose may give us direction,
but collaboration is often how we get there.
And today's guest has spent her career showing what that looks like in practice. April Clobes is the president and CEO of MSU Federal Credit Union, where she's led incredible growth, to say the least, while staying deeply committed to members, employees, and the cooperative spirit that makes credit unions so unique.
April understands that collaboration isn't just a leadership skill, but a strategy, and one we're excited to learn more about from her today.
April, welcome back to the CUInsight Experience, and the first time with Jill as the co-host, so more fun now.
Thanks. Looking forward to it. I don't know, that was a big lead up, though. I have to be able to deliver now.
I think you got this, April. And with that, when we jump into these, we always really like to start more on the human side than just the employee side or the executive side. So just kind of warm it up. Tell us a little bit, when you hear the word collaboration, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, for me, I don't like to do anything alone. But as a person, I have always found that everything that we work on is better when other people get to share in it. And what I mean by share in it is give me their perspective, bring their unique point of view, their backgrounds, their skills, something that I didn't have. And you always learn from bringing someone else in to work with you, whatever that project may be. And, from there, it just gets better when two people or three people sometimes are working on some stuff together. And it's a lot more fun. At least that's what I think. It's more fun when more heads are together and it doesn't seem as much like you have something to overcome and finish, but something that we all got to spend a lot of time creating and have some shared pride around the result is a very fun way to go about work.
Absolutely. Let me ask, as you've grown the credit union, because it looks much different than what it looked like when you took over the reins, has that made it harder, easier to keep everybody together with a bigger moving ship?
Oh, for sure. We have 1,200 employees today. When I started at the credit union, we had 100. It was a lot easier for 100 people to, all rally in the same direction. But I think we have some very purposeful experiences where we make sure that everything we're doing is shared, understood, created together. Like all organizations, we have our strategic vision and plan, and we have from the board, some 4 key areas. Then each leader went and worked with their team to roll up, what are we contributing here? This is not uniquely new to how we operate compared to everyone else, but I do think it gives everyone a moment to say, I have input into what my areas are going to contribute and how, and feel real great pride about everything that's happening. And so you have to be very conscious, very purposeful in making sure you bring everyone along. And then we just have so many touch points and communication points for our employees. We didn't have the technology we have today. So we didn't have the, employee intranet, and you could feed information and people could go back and reference. We have podcasts, we have video, we have hybrid meetings. So we have all employee meetings, we have manager level meetings, leadership level meetings, and department meetings. So everyone has this chance to really get engaged, ask the questions, and share their input.
Okay, now I'm getting into the hard-hitting questions here, April. So you acknowledge that the structure may be similar from organization to organization. You set the goals, you trickle down the goals, you move in that way. Then, meetings and communication tools and even the video tools, those may be similar from organization to organization. And yet my guess is there's something unique that sets MSU Federal Credit Union apart, and something that you're doing to build a culture or an environment where the team kind of wants to contribute. They want to be part of something bigger instead of just being like, okay, here, I'm going to go along with it. So with that, I guess the question behind that is, have you learned anything about how to create that sense of ownership that really is like a desire to be there and to make that difference?
It really is, to me. I mean, we have a project that we're working on right now that my team gives me a little bit of grief every now and again. I say yes to many things. I think I do. But certainly for me, it was telling a few people, this is what our project opportunity is. What do you think? Do you want to be a part of it? And we need some help. And, you'd be able to help make this really amazing for our members. And I think they get excited for the same reason I do, right? They love the mission of the organization. And we talk about the mission a lot, right? I always talk about, we're here, and this is not our mission statement, right? But we are here to make people's lives better. And whether that's for how we show up and solve a problem that they're having, or provide them a product or service to solve a need, or give it to them at a better price, at the end of the day, they get to go home and say, this made it better. And I think we hire for people who really are, wired to care about the experience that the member has. And so we frame everything on how is it working to impact the organization and ultimately the members, meaning if we do this well, and maybe we earn a little more, what do we do with those earnings, right? And so they can come back into product services for the members and employees, right? We have employees are listed in our mission statement intentionally. It's not just, our mission statement ends with for financial health, security, and dreams, but it starts with, for our members and employees, right? And so I think including your employees.
They are members, right?
Right. They are members as well, but also that we are focused on their own well-being and success at the organization. I think that helps people get really excited about what we're doing.
I imagine that helps people get excited. And I imagine it also helps to create trust. Like you're sending that message that they matter too, and that you're keeping their interests in mind as you're moving forward too.
Yeah.
This resonates with me. We'll talk about a misstep. We've been going through something recently that from a senior level, from a founder level, we really saw as being a huge collaborative thing, but we didn't communicate it well to the rest of the team. So even though we're excited, everybody else was like, how does this affect? How does this fit? How does this? And I just was talking about it yesterday where I'm like, okay, we got too excited, but didn't bring people along. So that idea, when I was listening to April, listening to you talk, I'm just like, yeah, that communication going, hey, this is something we could work on. Would you like to help? I was like, boy, that would have been a better approach. So
yeah, and I agree. And first, I am the furthest human from perfect. So, my team will let you know and let me know, which I think is part of it, right? You have to have a team who's going to tell you, hey, this isn't sitting well with us, or you didn't deliver as we expect out of you. And they have no problem letting me know, which I think is really important because I want to hear that feedback. It's real hard, but then we course correct, right?
Yep.
And it's sometimes really challenging. Some of the work that we've done in the past and probably will in the future, right, we're under NDA. You can't tell people early, too many people knowing. So then they feel like, oh my God, you knew this for so long. I'm just learning and I need to sit with it. And you want me to be all excited. And that's very true. So I can see where you've had that. I can see how it gets there. And sometimes it's the nature of the job. And it's really hard when you can't share. And I always tell people, I couldn't tell you this was under NDA. This was, whatever. And I really wanted everyone to get excited earlier. So let's sit with it and we'll revisit.
Great advice. So it's a one-person podcast right now. I'm going, yes, okay, I need that. No.
Yeah, it's real true. I mean, heck, I need to tell myself that a lot as well. We're humans as well, right? And I think sometimes your team, sometimes yourself, right, hold you to an expectation that you're going to do it all perfectly because you have this job title attached to you. And I think it's real. Just, I remind people all the time, I'm just as human as you are. And, I'm not going to get everything the right and or the way you want it from me. But that doesn't mean I'm not here to hear you, make some changes and try it better the next time.
Exactly.
I think there's probably many, but two areas where employees may give some resistance to like new ideas coming through or coming up. And one is that kind of that resistance that comes with, I'm just not quite there yet. Like you're 7 steps ahead of me, haven't brought me up to speed. I need a little more time to get used to it. And you see some friction or resistance there. But sometimes the friction or resistance comes because we actually haven't thought through something that we needed to. We missed something. And when they're coming to us there with resistance or that respectful disagreement, it's, being able to listen to that may actually improve the idea or change the way we approach it. And that's certainly also part of what you're talking about. So there's that idea of, hey, sometimes I'm going to get it wrong and make a mistake and we can catch back up. But there's also that idea of, sometimes I'm going to get it wrong because I alone am not as smart as all of us together. And I guess I'm curious if you can think back to any examples of any breakthroughs or new ideas that maybe came out from someone challenging your original thinking. And I know we're talking a lot about collaboration within the organization, which you clearly do a lot of as a leader, but I know you're also out there on a national level with some different groups too.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to what you're seeing is me going through my Rolodex of everything I could have done better in my head and to try to pick one out. Gosh, I mean, there's so many things I'm trying. So we've launched a few new brands. I think everyone might be aware of that. And I think in the early stages, we had this misperception of to do this well, and especially at the time in the market, all you needed to do was put out a high rate and, the people will come into the door. And really we went back and it wasn't going as well as we had hoped. And we retooled it, right? We brought in a leader from marketing who is like, well, we didn't do this. We didn't do this. Like, you need to promote it this way. And she retooled the brand purpose and how we came to market. And it now is more successful. And I think what you know how to do, but sometimes it's very important to be able to say we need a reset and let's reset with other people's engagement and help on the front end is really the best way to go about that. I mean, I can think of products. I can think of, we tried to do an investment in a company that didn't go so well, all this stuff. And, there's so many times where you can look backwards and go, gee, yeah, I had a blind spot to that. And if only I had consulted over here, here, or here, maybe we would have said no, or maybe it would have been a better process on the front end.
This was an area I wanted to make sure to touch on because we all run in many of the same circles. And so knowing nationally what you're involved in, I have heard it from countless people where the last time you were on the podcast, they're like, we love when April's in the room. She always has good ideas. That there's a trust that people have, you've built trust in others around the system. I'm sure you have in your organization as well, right? How important, I guess, when you think about collaborating, and maybe this is, I know it works inside the organization, but when we're looking across the system and across our movement, have you been intentional on building that trust or, working with others? And I mean, we all have people that we like to work with and others that we're like, it's just reality.
Yeah. I think it naturally evolves. We have this in our organization. So when I became the CEO, my board had been to like a CUI's directors conference, and it was in my first 6 months. And they came back and said, all the presentations you've already exposed us to, or we've done that for the last 2 years. And nobody knew who I was when I raised my hand and told them my credit union does that. And they looked at me and they're like, why is that? And my predecessor had a very internal focus, and it's what I knew, right? And so my first maybe year or two, that's what we kept leaning into. And so board chair says to me, you're in my goals for the year is to create a national presence for this organization. And if you know me real well, I am introverted. So that was I'm sorry, what? Go make friends with all these people that don't know me. I don't know them.
Can we just start in Michigan, maybe? No.
I was like, okay. And so what that really meant was I started attending things. The thing I am also is kind of nerdy and like to work. And so I think for me, building that trust in the industry was being who I am naturally, which is I showed up and did some work, offered some ideas, put some effort behind it. And I think when your work product has results, it's a lot easier to say, I kind of understand how to do something like this, or people listen to your ideas because it has worked. Not all my ideas work though. And so I think it just took a lot of years. I mean, I've been in this job now 11 years. So I think where I am today versus in year 2 is very different, and who knows me and where I show up. But, I'm very big on if you commit to being a part of one of the boards in the industry, or somebody asked me to present, that we do it our best. My biggest goal is that the industry wins, thrives, and survives, right? And so you don't do that alone. That's a whole movement. And so I just want to do my part, right, to help people. And not everyone wants to show up and do that. So some days carry a little more water than others, but I think it's worth it.
I love that. The industry thrives.
Wins, thrives, and survives.
Wins, thrives, and survives. I love that.
John's going to be like, I've got the quote for this one. That's
right.
What he's doing in the editing.
Yeah, that's for sure. When you think about that lofty ambition, wins, thrives, and survives, where do you think there are still more opportunities to collaborate more, whether it's with one another as like credit union to credit union, or like with other partners? And like one thing I know about you is that when you bring a vendor partner in, what I've seen is that you really bring them in as a partner too. You become an advocate for them. You work closely with them in that. And then even outside the industry, where are there some opportunities there to collaborate more too?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Well, first, let's do our vendor partners, and then I'll move to what I think we could as an industry do together. So what I learned early is, there are things that we operate within our organization that I don't control. And what I mean by that is if something breaks or goes down, it's not always on just us. Mm-hmm. And when those situations happened, you would find yourself in a hard space of explaining to either your employees, like the system is down and we have no fix for it, we're waiting. And then their day is harder because the members, of course, are not pleased and trying to accomplish what they need to do. And what I realized is I don't know who to call and who's going to help me, because I want to solve it for our members and employees. And so what we started doing is our key critical partners that make their break the day of success, we have annual meetings with them. And we spend a day, the leadership team, the team below that really are impacted by the work with that partner to know them. That's just part of it. If I need to call, I honestly, and not a plug, but we're on Jack Henry. If I need to call the CEO of Scimitar or the COO of Jack Henry or the CEO of Jack Henry, they know me, right? Because they also ascended from within and we've worked with them, and they'll take my call because they know we show up for them when it matters as well. And I think that's what all relationships and collaboration are about. You show up for each other. And they know that if they call me and need me to go help them do a presentation or share what we're doing so they can help their teams get better, I will do that. And that's part of what we've really worked on, because we have a history of making everything ourselves. But Or it's getting harder to do that. And so, I want to know what they're working on so we don't work on that. And how about we work and build it together? And maybe it can get to market faster. Maybe it'll be better because they have more resources over here and we can bring our knowledge in from serving members over here. And so that's kind of how that began. So if any of our key partners are listening, they know because they spend lots of time with us over each year, and that's worked really well for us. And sometimes it means we get to try something first because we have shown up and built a relationship. And so if they're coming to market with something, need a beta test, alpha test, we might get it first. And I think that's kind of exciting for my members, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, how much does curiosity play into all of this, just as a value, let's say?
I think I'm wired to be very curious and like, how does this work? What about that? My team will tell you, I have no shortage of random ideas. It doesn't mean they're all amazing, but I will be like, what if we tried this? What if we do this? And sometimes that's it. And I just throw out what if we do this? And people take it and make it pretty amazing. We are launching next Tuesday, we're launching a kids-only location that is called the Money Lab. And I didn't brand it, name it, do anything, but I was just like, we're seeing where all the youth accounts are opening at about age 11. What do we need to do to make this interesting, exciting for the children, for the parents? And the team, like one of our vice presidents of marketing, she gathered all these folks that, from the branch design and our facilities team, service, and they made it happen. I mean, I just walked in last week and went, oh my God, this is going to be amazing.
Is that in Lansing?
Yeah. And so it's like a test, right? So we test and iterate and so if this works, where will we take it in the other markets where we have a big presence? And so hopefully you'll see some PR about it next week from the industry. But that was a harebrained idea and somebody else made it exceptional, right? And with collaborating within the organization. It's probably my best way to do that inside. And then you asked about what do I think is an industry we need to do? There are lots of initiatives that I think are across the industry right now where people would benefit if we spent a little more time thinking about the benefits globally to the whole industry. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that gets hard because we all have our own legal team, we all have our own products and boundaries and things like that. But I think for us, what I have seen in my work in the last several years is how do we show up for new experiences that we want our members to have that happens to be mostly delivered through a fintech partnership, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of organizations aren't there yet with how do we invest in it? How do we feel comfortable about the technology and the security? But in all honesty, those ideas are taking 1% of all of our members, right? Like, so I'm going to partner over here. I'm going to do this. And then what do they need us to deliver for them? Is how we went about it. All the places that we partner and we have great success and the members are using the product. And then they're like, introduce me to your friends in the industry. And then it's a big hurdle for people to start partnering. And maybe the other one that I think if we all really put some effort into it would help everyone be more successful, but it's a very challenging concept, I think, for people to become comfortable with is a QSO that we are partnered with that is called CUDX, Credit Union Data Exchange. And what it really is, it's not designed to do anything except let all of our data come together in an anonymous fashion. And then you as a participant can take and use that data to make your modeling better. And the reason I think this is exciting for me, right, is we're all training AI models. We're all training prediction on credit and next best product and. Well, even as an industry, we do not have enough consumer data to rival what Chase is making in a model.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so if we could put our models together, we can make our own model, but have a bigger data set. Yeah. We would be able to be more successful collectively and individually. And that's my goal. I don't want to take another credit union's data and do something to harm them, right? I want to take it to help all of us get smarter at what we are doing for the consumers and have more people become members. And I think that requires just a data set today that is beyond what we can do individually.
Okay, so we don't usually do like plugs and stuff, but this one, I think it is really interesting. So I'm curious, though, if somebody was interested in learning more, who's leading that?
It comes out of Trellance. And I get it. It's the concept of the exchange that I think is America's credit unions. And I don't know what you're going to edit out, but Scott Simpson wants to consider how we could use it for advocacy, right? But again, there's so many ways that could be easier to tell our story in aggregate if you didn't have to go to 4,000 places and find the data and then parse it and do stuff with it. I mean, it's designed to be anonymous. It's designed to be helpful. And then everyone has permissioning rights and so forth. So I think the concept is, I'm not here to promote an organization either. I'm here to say this idea of how do we get together to advance long-term success has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
I think what you said, like Chase, Bank of America, like the data that they're drawing from that pool compared to an individual credit union trying to model a similar thing is, as an industry, we should be pooling that. I mean, it's just the world we live in, right? So,
and even if we pooled it, the truth is, we still won't have the same data set that they have. We won't have the mass that they have, but it'll at least get us a little closer to,
I think one of the realities is like an obstacle that gets in the way of collaboration or an obstacle that gets in the way of a great idea like this is that there are a lot of credit unions out there who are just so busy doing the work of the day that they don't have the time to stop and say, whoa, I really need this. And so therefore they don't know where to access this type of resource or how to get engaged with it and how to involve in it. So fantastic.
So like, why would I give mine if I'm not going to use it? Type of a thing. It's like, come on.
Just great to get out there that message that there is sort of a national action toward this and there is the opportunity to engage for sure.
Collectively, we were better.
Yeah. And to that point of collectively we're better, let's kind of transition a little bit more into more personal side of leadership here. So collectively we're better, and a theme that we often hear is that sometimes leadership can get lonely. And so to that end, who has helped you just kind of address some of that? It's lonely at the top, or just made you a better leader simply by collaborating with you?
Oh gosh, am I allowed to list people's names though? Because
yeah, we won't.
So we'll be like, they were on the show. No.
So many people.
Go listen to Mark Zuck's podcast.
Yes, exactly. Mark Zuck and I have, and I met Mark by serving on a board together, and he had a wealth of knowledge on especially QSOs and things that I had never. We hadn't done. I asked him a million questions. And now we sit and talk about all the things that we're doing that's similar. Every time I see him, it's, everyone around us is like, are you guys done yet? Can we leave? Or like, no, I need to know how you're doing this. And we even brought our teams together and visit and share. And I think that's also what the industry is about. So dear friends that you all both know, right? Patty Corkery she's in a role, of course, to bring leaders together. But I really appreciate how she approaches doing that and spends time with each person, but also connects you to many people that she has in her orbit. And well, I couldn't not mention Tracy Kenyon, right? Who I also met by serving on a board. So sometimes serving on a board gets you a lot of new friends. And Tracy's been invaluable to me and like talking me through some difficult times. Like not, every day is, like you just said, can be challenging. And she's been there as a great listening ear and gives some advice and, reflection that has at the right pivotal times been critical. Then I have a bunch of women that I know that are CEOs at other credit unions that come together, share ideas. Steph Sherrod, Linda Arman. I could go on. Like there's so many.
We're also taking notes for future podcast guests now. No.
So the funny part is so far everybody who's been mentioned has been on the podcast. So John's going to have a bunch of linking back to the old shows. Yeah. There you go. Yeah,
that's real and true.
On the show, but on the show,
no, that's great. And so awesome. Those are, and maybe that's why they've been on your show, right? They are people that can connect you and will spend some time with you and Absolutely. Share similar philosophies of like, we can do this together. Maybe a little easier, maybe a little bring in some sanity to ourselves by having folks together. But yeah, it's been real great.
I love that. When you look ahead over the next 5 or 10 years, what kind of leadership do you think organizations will need more of? Like you mentioned, you've been in that role for 11 years. If you think back 11 years ago to today, there's quite a change just in the world. As you look forward to that next chapter, what do we need to be as leaders?
It's great. I think it's, you see definitely, and I feel it, and I'm sure everyone does. Every generation shows up to work with what shaped them. And how I was an employee and what you were expected to deliver and what you wanted to deliver is different in today's environment. And so I definitely see that evolution with our employees. I think a much more focus on inclusion, whole self at work, hearing and creating space for ensuring that everyone is really engaged at the highest level because they feel that you understand and care about them is very important. I don't think that wasn't important before. I just think we approached how we showed up to work differently, right? I did what my boss told me and I just went home. And that's not the case today. And, as a leader, you have to be comfortable with people challenging the why a lot more. I know there's lots of books on the why, and I think that's always been a basic principle, but I think the environment is I get to ask you the why. And that may not have felt acceptable in my early career, if that makes sense. And I think that's a different space today.
And there's such a generational thing though, too. I think we're all Gen X, type of a thing. And it was like, we were kind of brought up just to like, okay, here's what I want you to do, go do it. And we just put our head down, didn't ask questions, didn't ask why, just went and did it. That's not, if we're trying to lead that way, it's not. We're like, leave us alone and let us do our job and we'll be fine. We don't need a pat on the back.
My friend Brent Dixon gave me this book quite a few years ago, and it's called Theory U. And I always forget the author's name on it. It's a pretty short book though, but one of the things that really resonated with me, and my kiddo was in elementary school at the time, so I was just kind of getting used to the educational journey he was on. But one of the points that really resonated was that the generation that's coming up, so my son's generation, at school, they're being taught how to think and not what to think. And what kind of difference does that make into the workplace? So I remember memorize your times tables, memorize your state capitals, go through and it's like a lot of memorization versus critical thinking coming up. And now we have this generation entering the workforce right now. And, for better or for worse, we're going to get their critical thinking. We're going to get their why did we do it this way? And so my experience with it so far has been that it is a lot better, but it is certainly a lot different. And so the leaders who are leading them, I think, need to be comfortable with that idea of they know how to think and not just what to think. To me, that's kind of an interesting...
Their first job coming out of college is going to question the CEO, right? Like at this point, it's just a normal occurrence, where we would have never thought of doing that. We'd be like...
Right, exactly.
But I'll tell you what, though.
I will give you lots of work to coach.
But if they're using AI, we need them to know how to think, because otherwise if they use it and they just accept it as fact, that's why we get all these weird AI hallucinations that end up in the final work product too. So I think it's probably a really critical tool, that ability to critically think in effective use of other tools that are emerging too.
What's where my brain instantly went, right? I had to memorize everyone's phone number to every other fact in order to be knowledgeable, to even begin your curiosity thinking, right? And you don't have to memorize any of that anymore. And And so it frees up your ability also to spend your brain time on things that are more valuable than rote memorization, because you needed to rely on having that available to you. But now if I need something, I can get a fact like in seconds compared to what we had to do. And when you were talking about it, the first thing I thought was, right, I'm certain that I'm being taught, I know from my team, how to do prompts for AI, right? I have leaders that are in their late 30s and they are showing me in Copilot every day. Well, just tell Copilot this and you will get this. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really great. And you can, it's more efficient, right? And so I think that also gives them a little more capacity. They're not wasting time doing things that are not needed, right? Like you can spend time thinking great things.
I love that.
We are getting towards the end. Any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Oh gosh, no, I don't know that I have any final thoughts on
That's such a high pressure question.
I know. It's like, yes.
What about you, Jilly, or the extra final questions before I start going?
Yeah, right.
Nobody can see the video. I'm just making
Right.
No, it's good. We do this at our place. We go like this.
No, April, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us. It certainly goes by fast. And I think it's such a good use of time to just talk about and really think about, what it is that we love about this industry and what it is that we need to keep in mind as leaders to not just stay focused internally in our own shops in what we're doing, but really think about win, thrive, survive at the national level there. So that's definitely something that's sticking with me from this conversation today.
Yeah, and maybe we'll say one final thing, right? If by listening to this, no matter, who you are and your credit union location or size we are here to help and collaborate in the industry. And I tell everybody that when I speak on a panel, don't hesitate to reach out directly to me. Our team will help you, connect you, answer things, work with you. We'll show you what we've done and anything that you think is interesting. So, and I always invite that collaboration and connectivity so we just know each other and have more friends in the industry.
And I thank you both for the personal coaching in the beginning of the podcast. So I had things bounce here on my head.
Yeah, I could use some too. Don't worry.
Well, April, thank you so much for joining us today and coming back on the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you to all of our listeners of the CUInsight Experience podcast. We appreciate you all.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to share it with a colleague, a friend, or another leader who could use the reminder that none of us does our best work alone. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode.
Until next time,
keep leading with purpose.
And remember, purpose may give you direction,
but collaboration is often how we get there.
Be well, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks again to Trellance for sponsoring this episode of the CUInsight Experience podcast. To find out more about Trellance, visit trellance.com.